Happy summer! I'm 10 TV Weather Impact meteorologist Mike Joyce, breaking down a massive heat wave that is taking place across most of the eastern United States, including all of us here in central Ohio. We did just have the summer solstice arrive on Friday night. That was at 10:42 Eastern Standard Time. So we are now fully in the summer season, and we are certainly going to feel like it with some almost unseasonably dangerous heat coming our way. So here's the timing of our weather impact alerts over the next several days. This is going to include Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because these are the most likely days in the next week that the heat index will rise above 100 degrees in the middle of the afternoon. In some spots, could reach nearly 105 degrees. What do we need to do? Well, we're going to need to take a lot of breaks if we're outside. If you're an outdoor worker, construction, or maybe even a lifeguard at a pool, it is going to be so important to stay hydrated and take breaks in an air-conditioned environment, because these heat index values are very dangerous for anyone, even those who are used to working outside. So let's break down the National Weather Service heat alerts that we have in effect right now. All of our central Ohio communities shaded in orange are under a heat advisory. That means we're expecting heat index values to about 104 degrees during the peak heating part of the afternoon. So that's going to be about 2 to 6 p.m. and lingering a little bit later in some spots. Then we have an excessive heat warning for Athens, Washington, and Meigs County. What that means is those are the most likely counties that are going to have a heat index value of 105 or more. So that again is an extreme heat warning, I should say, for Washington, Athens, and Meigs County. And this is going to last through Tuesday, but I do expect that to be extended into Wednesday as well, just like our 10 weather impact alert. So let's talk about a heat advisory. What does it mean in Ohio, and what does it mean elsewhere across the country? So the criteria is different for a heat advisory in different parts of the country, because this type of heat that we're getting is very common in places across the South, like in Florida, the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama. So their criteria for getting a heat advisory is a little bit higher. They need to have a temperature or a heat index value of 105 degrees. And in Florida, it needs to be 108 or higher. And some coastal Carolina and Georgia communities, it needs to be 110 or higher. Here in the Buckeye State, our heat advisory will get triggered with a heat index value of greater than 100 degrees, and the extreme heat warning will be triggered at 105. So again, the criteria is different just because this type of heat is much less common in the Midwest versus the South. So this type of temperature profile is dangerous regardless. And these are Sunday's afternoon forecasted temperatures. This is the actual temperature, not the heat index. 96 degrees here in the city, 95 for Delaware and Marion, Bucyrus at 96, New Lexington coming in at 90 tomorrow, and then we'll have some upper 80s in our far eastern communities before that heat dome does push its way to the east on Monday. Now let's factor in the humidity. We are going to have excessively humid air that is going to be coming into most of the eastern half of the United States. Anywhere east of the Rocky Mountains is going to be dealing with some very high humidity levels that you would experience, again, along both the Atlantic and Gulf coasts. But now that moisture is being transported up here. So that, coupled with the high actual temperatures, is going to add a lot to what it actually feels like. So the heat index 103 on Sunday afternoon, 104 in many communities. And again, those spots where we have the extreme heat warning, so Athens, Washington, and Meigs County, those are the locations that we're expecting those heat index values to get at or higher than 105. And then Monday, not any relief at all. Very similar heat index values for all of our central Ohio communities on Monday. Again, 100 to 105 degrees between 2 and 6 p.m. One of the reasons why this is happening so quickly is because of the completely clear sky that we're expecting for several days. We do not have a rain chance much at all during this stretch. So here's Sunday. We'll have a few upper level and passing clouds, but that's it. It's going to be a mostly sunny day. And that's also true as we head into Monday. So the mornings are going to be warm and muggy too. Very sticky tropical air. Think what you'd expect again in the South if you're going to the beach or Florida or something like that. That's what we're expecting here. And with all that sunshine too, it's going to heat up very quickly. We're already going to be feeling the heat index in the mid to upper 90s by lunchtime. So it's not going to take much time, I should say, throughout the morning hours. So what are the rules for beating the summer heat? Well, we know that it's important to wear sunscreen, at least SPF 30 or higher, and then try to stay in the shade as much as possible, even if you're wearing sunscreen, because any layer of protection is a good idea when we have excessive heat. And of course, the high sun angle this time of year. We're in the longest days of the year with the solstice just happening, so the sun is intense as it ever is this time of year. And of course, also important to stay hydrated. So we're talking about water or some sort of electrolyte drink, and keeping those beverages on the non-alcoholic side, because alcohol can actually dehydrate you even with the liquid in the cup. So always a good idea to avoid that on these hot days. So here is that temperature breakdown. This is the pool forecast for Sunday, but we can apply this same forecast to Monday, Tuesday, and even Wednesday as well. Already 90 by noon, 93 by 2 p.m., and then 95, the actual temperature, by 4 o'clock. The UV index, like I just mentioned, the most intense sunshine of the entire year, right around the summer solstice. So the UV index is going to be high. It's a 9. So what does that mean? Well, try to wear a hat if you can. That's a good idea. And SPF 30 or greater. I'd even recommend SPF 50 or greater, especially if you're fair-skinned. And I do want to emphasize that all skin tones should be wearing sunscreen. Sun can damage anyone's skin, regardless of skin tone. And of course, seeking shade during the middle of the day is so important. That's going to be 11 to 3 p.m. That's when the sunshine is the most intense. Again, Monday, still very hot, 96 degrees. If you have any recreational activities, maybe going for some kayaking or out on the lake or taking the kids to the pool, really not much change. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, midday temperatures in the mid-90s, and it's not going to be terribly windy. All of this hot air, hot and humid air, is coming out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, maybe a wind gusting up to 20 at times, but really the wind is not going to be a major issue with us this time. Water temperatures, though, if you're going to be swimming on some natural lakes, we're already up to 73 degrees, so that'll feel very refreshing, and it's warm enough to safely swim. Let's talk about pet safety. On the topic of safety, we have to be very, very careful when we're walking dogs, and even being mindful of other animals like cats that freely roam on pavement, which really absorbs a lot of solar radiation and heats up very quickly. If we have air temperatures in the 80s, which we've had a lot of this summer so far, the asphalt temperature can still get up to 115, especially blacktop, which absorbs all that solar radiation. That bumps up to 130 when we have an air temperature of 85. 90-degree air temperature brings that to 140 because it can't release heat as efficiently. So it warms up at a greater rate than the air. 95-degree air temperature, the asphalt can get as hot as 155, and that can burn the paws of our pets. So we really want to be mindful of that. Maybe allowing our dogs to take a walk in the grass, or cutting those walks a little bit short, or rerouting to avoid blacktops and other unsafe surfaces. And also, speaking of heat safety in cars, the same temperature profile applies. The outside air temperature is also related to what will happen inside the car. If you lock up your car, roll the windows up, and sit it in the sun, on a 95-degree day, in 10 minutes, the inside of the car will be much warmer at 115, and then it'll keep adding heat from there. A half hour later, that can jump up to 130. But look what happens on a 105-degree day with the heat index really cranking up and the moisture in the air adding to that heat. The inside of a car can be as hot as 140 degrees. So it's so important to make sure you're watching out for any children that may be sitting in the back seat, pets too. Do not leave them in the car for any amount of time. That said, let's figure out what's happening and when it's going to get out of here. We have a very strong high pressure center that is going to be very slowly moving across the upland south and moving its way toward the Atlantic Ocean through the next several days. That said, the jet stream is well to the north, forming a heat dome over the eastern U.S. And Monday and Tuesday are going to be very intense days for that. So we're getting all of the Gulf moisture heading right into the Great Lakes region. So we are going to feel like many southern cities do this time of year. 100-degree plus heat indices Monday, Tuesday, even into Wednesday. But as the high starts to shift a little bit to the east, closer to the ocean on the other side of the Appalachians, this heat dome is going to compact a little bit. We're still going to be feeling the effects on Wednesday, but by Wednesday evening, we'll have just enough energy for a few pop-up showers and storms. So Wednesday evening is our next chance for some rain, and right now our severe weather threat not all that high, but anytime we have this much energy from moisture and other driving forces, we'll have to watch out for some gusty wind and some heavy rain Wednesday night. And then again Thursday. Still going to be hot. We're going to get those heat index values below 100 degrees by Thursday and Friday, but it's still going to be hot with highs in the low 90s and scattered showers and storms as that high pushes more and more toward the east coast. So a very hot summer week ahead. And like I said, the most dangerous days will be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All of these days with actual temperatures in the mid 90s, heat index values 100 to 105 degrees. That said, by the time we get to Thursday, we'll have a greater chance for some rain. So we'll be looking for some rain and even some relief from the heat. By Thursday morning and afternoon, we'll have a few pop-up showers and storms and even a few more clouds. Still, though, a very hot day, 93 degrees. But by the time we get to Friday and Saturday, we are going to trend a little bit downward. These are not major cool-offs, but really the key here is the reason why we'll have less of a weather impact at the end of the week is because the heat index values will not get above 100 at that point. Still very hot, still a concern for safety. This is a very hot stretch and we've just begun summer, so it's now a good idea to be prepared for some hot weather in the days ahead.